Hey Mexicans, welcome back to this new video where today we're going to be looking at a scenario where all military alliances from this is WICSO come into the modern world and with their rivals too. So like this military alliance, their rival is Russia, as their alliance has the purpose of trying to contain Russia. So yeah. We have Russia. Then we see the African alliance over here with South Africa, these four countries. Now, I couldn't really exactly find a modern rival, as if we look at this map, we can see that after the World War V, actually more like World War IV, but yeah, World War IV had the gold team. And that was their rival. After that, though, this alliance wasn't really, they really didn't have a rival. There wasn't really any rival. As West Africa became democratic, and pretty much the entire continent became democratic, except for maybe this country. But they're kind of weak. They probably wouldn't be a rival on their own. But Libya became democratic, this country became democratic, and then this... Well, we know what happened to the gold team. They collapsed. They were nuked to oblivion, and they were also changed to a democratic country eventually. But yeah, this alliance technically doesn't have a rival, so I had to go back in time to before World War IV. This is the gold team at its peak. This is the country I had to bring back just for this scenario to actually work. For these countries, at least. Now, what that also means is that its sold ways are also a part of this. And that means that a lot of ethnic cleansing will happen in the modern world. Which, will pretty much put the U.S. immediately on the African side, just because this is a fascist country in the modern world. Like, sure, we're gonna stem away from the alliances, but we're not gonna stem away from the ideologies of these countries. We know fascism is well hated in the world, so this isn't lasting long. Realistically, that's what would happen. And then I also have to twist something for this alliance. Because this alliance technically has a rival, it's Brazil, but Brazil would not invade them, as Brazil is democratic now. So going to Brazil over here after World War V, they were their democracy was overthrown, and their fascist government was overthrown, and they were turned into a democracy. But these two, I could see these two actually, trying to revenge these countries for killing off Brazil. I could see that. Realistically, that wouldn't happen, but these are the rivals that this alliance is gonna get. At least with the gold team, we weren't just completely going off of an assumption. They were the rivals of this alliance back in the day. It's just that this modern alliance saw that this modern alliance is in episode 85, where the gold team became a democracy. But this gold team right here, not a democracy. It's fascist. Which could also mean that these three could align. Not a good thing. Russia probably wouldn't align with them though. They're not a fascist. They're a dictator, as you can see. And because they're a dictator, I don't necessarily think that fascist ideology aligns perfectly with this. Also, that's not up to date. This country is no longer fascist. It got turned into a democracy after the World War, so that needs to be fixed. But anyway, I'm gonna get to this scenario in a bit. Alright, so we will be beginning this scenario now. So, first up, on the Russian side of things, they pretty much clear up. They'll pretty much clear up the Belarusian state. And then as for Russia, as for the original Russian country, well, as you can see, this Russia occupies a lot of what original Russia's territory was, or the more important parts. So if we look at the city, like the capital map, Moscow is under this country. And then the city map, all the hub of cities that are important to Russia are over here. There's two still here, but it's already it's already destroying the chances of Russia actually lasting because Moscow is already under this thing. And while Siberia is useless, you're not going to get anything about Siberia. But these disconnected portions are not going to last long either. So Russia will make probably the single-handedly most smartest decision of all. Unite with this Russian country. Now, realistically, well, this language, like the Russian language in that area, like in WICSO, I don't think it would be exactly I don't think it would be the same as in real life. But you know, the Russians see a Russian country over here, and so they decide to unite with it because that's literally the only thing they can do because, well, that Russian country has taken over your important land. So what are you going to do, fight it? No, it's not going to work. And in the end, if you can't beat them, join them. That's what the Russians do. Now, that also means that this part joins, so we can just go ahead and color this. And what remains of Poland, well, it's going to join Germany. Specifically this part. This part joins Czechia, and in these parts joins Slovakia. With this part joining Hungary due to the disconnection. And then the rest of Ukraine here. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go beyond it to survive. I mean, the capital's there. But it would be better if, like, they did lose a lot of their eastern and western half, so it'd probably be better if they united under Gold Ukraine. That's just what they do. That's what happens. And Moldova's fine enough to continue on. It didn't really lose that much land. It could survive. It could survive. It's not that much. But oh yeah, I forgot to just color that border. But yeah, the Russians are united. And that certainly won't cause problems. Or anything. Honestly, that just makes the situation for these countries way worse than it needs to be. Because, here's the thing. The Russians have definitely increased in power by tenfold because of this. So if these countries were in any, so if they were in a war with Russia, they'd be pretty screwed because the Russian country just pretty much just normal Russia strength. So yeah, that's not happening. Meanwhile, over here in South America, the fascist countries pretty much clean up the neighbors that need to be cleaned up. And it's honestly just pretty simple for them. So first, they clean up their portions of this border. Makes sense because, well, these pockets wouldn't necessarily last long on their own. So then this part goes over to North Chile. I'm going to call it Chile because it's not Argentina. Some people call it Northern Argentina, which is kind of weird. Anyway, though. The rest of Bolivia pretty much, like... Bolivia in and of itself just decides to unite with the Brazilians. Which the Brazilians, they're still pretty strong. They still have their population centers. The only things they lost are just Amazon rainforest. And they're just trading it for Bolivia, so it pretty much works. It's not too bad for Brazil. Maybe except for the southern area, but other than that, he doesn't destroy Brazil too much. In fact, it actually pretty much just boosts them because the unionizing here is interesting because obviously they're going to have to unionize. Guyana at least can't really sustain itself. Suriname wants to join this just because they're afraid that, yeah. French Guyana's going to stay out though just because it's French Guyana. They're owned by France. And maybe they would join if they were independent. Like, maybe they would join if, let's say, well, Green France came. Like, if Green France came, it's a lot harder to get to French Guiana. So then they would just declare independence. But here, that's not exactly going to work. And yet, for some reason, I gave them their own capital on the capital map. I mean, I guess you could say they would hold a referendum for them to join, but I don't really think France wants to give up French Guiana. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But what is going to happen is just the partition of this land. Like, it's honestly, this land is just too damn weak to really, object. Especially Argentina, because they don't even have Buenos Aires. Like, since they don't have Buenos Aires, there's not really much of a government there. And to be honest, that just means that you can't really rule this. So we will take a look at what will happen here, but it's pretty simple. This brown Argentinian country, it pretty much is Argentinian because, well, there is a Uruguay country. There is one. There is a Uruguay country. We will give it that. This is what... Oh, this is southern Brazil, actually. Yeah, this is Buenos Aires. This is Argentina. The capital is pretty much exactly where Buenos Aires is, just a bit to the east. Yeah, we can call this Argentina. We can. This is Chile, though. This is Chile. There's no doubt about that being Chile. Anyway, we're going back to this, because we have to do this. So, this part over here will go to the brown team. And the rest of this will go to the yellow team. Give me a second to color all this in. Okay, so in this peace treaty we see, yeah, the splitting of Argentina and Chile, that happens. But we also have one more thing happening. Yeah, Colombia, honestly, I'm going to have it join the rest of Colombia, or this Colombia. Because honestly, that's not going to last long on its own. I mean, sure, it can't really get invaded by Panama. Panama wouldn't do that. But it's just better if it's under Colombia, so they unite with it. Which means, yeah. It doesn't give them anything significant, as it wasn't anything too important. I mean, it's just the border of Panama. Which either way, this area is separated by the Darien Gap, so it's not really that useful. Frick. Yeah, even then this area is separated by the Darien Gap. So, what the hell's the point of this? Like, I think even the Darien Gap dips into here, though, so it wouldn't... Like, Panama couldn't take it. But Colombia also wouldn't last long just because of the fact that there's literally no one living in it anymore, because of the fact that it's just like this Darien Gap area. There might be a couple people in this area. I don't think it's enough to run a full government, especially considering that the capital's over here. So, yeah, I think it's better off if they unite. And good decision that is. But, let's see. What else? Oh yeah, the gold team. Because they're a part of this world, they will, invade the rest of Egypt. I will save you the details. But that does go into, that does go as a part of the gold team. And, well, the gold team's gonna they're gonna do some ethnic cleansing in Egypt. Which, due to the internet, it gets sent all over the world. Now, what is the West going to do about this? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, the democratic countries, all of the democratic countries in the world that support the USA, well, actually minus these two, I don't know about these two. I mean, they just joined in to liberate Africa. They're pretty much, like, yeah, but most of these countries, no, let's just say, these countries who hate the fascist gold team, they joined. And on top of that, these countries over here decide to join the gold team side, but not only that, declare war on these countries, bringing them into the war, which means that these countries are technically on the blue team. What that also means, oh yeah, and Russia declares war on these two, and then the gold team helps Russia and these two as well. So it's basically a WICSO gangbang. How's that gonna go? Who knows? But after hearing that news, Brazil actually joins on the blue team. These countries are wary, but they know that they're in a different universe, so they're gonna believe that Brazil is a better country in this universe. So yeah. But anyway, do I even need to say this? This isn't fair. And even Europe, even in the European front line, I would say that this is even less fair because, I mean, well, yeah, actually, with the core Russian strength and more because of the extra territories, they will at first be able to advance into Europe. That's just a given. But to the full extent that the Russians normally would? I mean, I don't know. I will say probably. But they do get into Finland. They do get into Finland, but as soon as they make their big move, they do push back. It's Finland. You aren't going to win against that, no matter what. But anyway, they do push it to the Polish. They've had experience here before, but on, like, before this country is actually more stronger. So they will stop here. And the Ukrainians aren't rolled over in this. They just aren't. Because this isn't the modern day Ukraine government running this, but even then, I think the gold team Ukraine is much stronger than modern Ukraine in this scenario. No, Kiev isn't the capital of this. It's still colored in. Well, I couldn't really change the capitals. Let's just get rid of this. The capital of the gold team is in Crimea. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. So once Crimea gets captured, that's the one that they worry about. But it's the Ukrainians are stronger here, so I don't think that they're gonna push through in that area. They will instead be able to push into the west though. But after this, the Ukrainians hold back in their main area. This part is just left to rot. With Poland holding its front here. The Balkans are kind of just open game. And I mean, sure, they do push in, but they don't, like, they do go around the troops, but they're still holding on in this area, so they can't really push in through here anyway. But they do go around anyway, and they do pummel the Balkans, that's just a given. They do connect to Serbia, which is what normal Russia would have done, but these Russians are not allies with the Serbians, so it wouldn't help them. And, oh yeah, the Caucasus, I almost forgot about that. Well, they push in a little bit. As they do get into Georgia a bit and Azerbaijan a bit. But Turkey's is defending this area. Now let's look into the other front lines. Yeah, well, Africa screwed at first. Let's just say that. The reason why is because these countries here are weak. So, this country, Kenya, weak. Uganda, weak. DRC can hold itself. I mean, it has a lot of its core stuff. For now. And Sudan is able to push in. I mean, they push into Sudan. They pretty much capture all of it just because Sudan is pretty weak. I mean, they lost, like, their entire eastern half. I mean, no duh. And then they also push in from Egypt. But they also push in... Okay, well, Yemen's declared neutral, but they do push into Israel a bit from the Egyptian puppet. But eventually Saudi Arabia holds this. Yeah, Israel collapsed. I mean, the gold team could probably do that. But that's it. That's just it. Because Poland has just pushed back the Russians. And also the gold team. And since they pushed the Russians out, the Balkans can't really be held, so that's done for. Finland reliberates itself, and then the push to the capital of the Russian country happens. Their capital is over here. So the Ukrainians immediately capture this capital. I mean, this capital is more Belarusian than Russian, I'm pretty sure. And we can easily double check that. Actually, no, we can't. Oh, yeah, we can. Yeah, there's a lot. I think it is a lot more Belarusian than Russian. But yeah, that capital's done for. They're not running this country off of Moscow all of a sudden, so that's not going to be the capital. And we see Finland pushing in too. Like they get the Kola Peninsula. Frick. Still hasn't let go. Yeah, they get the Kola Peninsula and a bit more. And then Russia itself pretty much just gets overthrown and the original Russian government is put back into place. Meaning that the WICSO Russian government is gone from power and the original Russian government is back. So yeah, that'll do. Oh yeah, as for these two, yeah, they ain't lasting long, I'm sorry. I mean, you're pretty much fighting against northern South America, and it's just your armies. You're not gonna win. And I mean, even in a WICSO sense, I don't think you would win that exactly. I mean, then again, these countries just were born, so they can't really do much. Yeah, maybe you're fine in WICSO, but modernly, no, because Brazil is still a strong country. Wait, why am I coloring Brazil in? Their government is in the blue team. Yeah, they're done. They're done. So, yeah. Brazil will gain back a whole bunch of land after this. Will the modern countries be established? Find out in the peace treaty. But anyway, now we have the gold team left. So they push out all this. And yes, they did ethnically cleanse Egypt, but not long enough to where there's not anyone from Egypt left to fight back. So, yeah, Egypt just rebelled against you. And Sudan and all your occupations are not going to hold. Because the armies are coming. And while you definitely had an advantage in the beginning of the war, just because well, you're stronger than the weaker countries around you, it just doesn't work. Everyone hates fascism. You're not gonna last long because of that. So yeah, that's done. Yay. Now we're gonna take a look at a peace treaty. Okay, so this is the peace treaty. The gold team had it easiest because none of the countries that were involved in this war could, like, all the countries that were here were able to get their lands back because, like, none of these countries fully collapsed, like, fully lost a bunch of land, except for the DRC, but it wasn't that much anyway. But yeah, Kenya was able to get its full land back, Uganda too, South Sudan. These areas were easy as they were inland, and Yemen just got its land back. The gold team was easy. The Russians, not so much. You see, the problem with the Russians is that, well, the only thing is that Finland did gain Kola. That was definitely a land loss for them. That's the only thing they lost. But the problem with the Russians is that, one, Belarus over here lost a bunch of their western territory over to Poland, which includes the capital, Minsk. That means that if Belarus came back, it would be under a different capital, which wouldn't work for the Belarusians. That wouldn't work. And then in the Baltics, the capital of Estonia is fine, but Riga is under Poland. Poland is the issue for why Belarus and Latvia haven't been released. And since Estonia can't really unite Latvia, then we just have them, unfortunately, just staying under Russia. Because where else would they go? They don't want them independent because and they know it wouldn't work. So this is the only option. And I mean, you could technically go with the fact that a bit of Ukraine is under Russia. But it wasn't significant enough to the point where Ukraine said, "All right, I wanted it." No, they're not going to get anything. No, Poland didn't get anything either. They didn't want land. Finland was the only country that actually got land. And maybe if Belarus and the Baltics were fully under Russia, maybe they would be independent. The only thing that would still be under Russia would be that part of Ukraine, but that's not gonna happen. Meanwhile, we talked about the gold team and we talked about the Russians. Now we go into the South American problem, which let's be honest here. The reason why this went wrong is, for one, parts of Bolivia were already under Peru and Brazil respectively, so that wouldn't have worked. I mean, La Paz wouldn't have even been able to. They wouldn't have been able to set up in La Paz. That wouldn't have worked. Bolivia wouldn't have worked. Paraguay would have, but Brazil just wanted land. So they took Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay. They got that. Chile and Argentina were fine, meanwhile. They just fixed this border. So they didn't really return that. But other than that, Chile, Argentina, they're fine. So yeah, we pretty much talked about every country. The gold team worked fine, the Russians didn't, and the South Americans barely did. The only thing that didn't work was the Bolivians and the Bolivians. And even the Paraguayans and the Uruguayans just got annexed by Brazil anyway. It's like, yeah, I mean, they did bring back Chile and Argentina at least, so it's a lot more of a success than over here in Russia, but still. But with that out the way, that ends this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a new video. Peace out.